You're listening to Bring Me the Axe. I'm Brian White. I'm one half of this morbid equation, and I'm joined by my co-host and brother, Dave White. Hey, Dave, how you doing over there?
Thank you for asking. I'm all right. You know, I have all week been writing a story that is probably the darkest thing I've ever written. It is not fiction. It is not nonfiction. It is about a serial killer who is a terrible person and did truly heinous things, to the point where several times this week I've had to be like, you know what? I just need to call it a day because this shit's really disturbing. So this evening, like, I'm going to unwind with a little television, put on Vincent Price's cooking show, Cooking Price-Wise.
Right.
And I got to tell you, I could watch this man do fucking anything. He could just be like changing his oil, and I'd be really into that. He makes, at one point, he decides he's going to make some, quote, Oriental rice, unquote. And what he does is he takes some long grain rice and some white, like American. He's very clear that it is American long grain rice.
Okay.
And he cooks it, with some oil, some salad oil. And then remember what he's making here. And then he's like, so then you just add some meats, 4 ounces of meat of your choosing. The meat that he chooses is ham. No, hold on. Then
I heard he was a gourmand.
Then he takes that rice and dumps it out of the pot before it is clearly done, because it is still juicy. Little juicy rice. And then he's like, now here's where we're going to spice it up. And he just takes curry powder and just sprinkles curry powder. Doesn't mix it in. He just sprinkles it all over the top. And then he takes what looks to be like he halves a tomato and kind of sets it up out on the sides of the tray, to make it look really pretty.
You got to plate it nicely. You're on TV.
That's his Oriental rice.
That is crazy, because I heard that he was like a gourmand, like a real sort of like
he was
man
the
of
ghoulish gourmand. Yeah,
man of culture.
Well, okay.
Here he is just showing up to set being like, shit, I don't know. I got some rice, I got a tomato, I got some ham and some curry powder.
I mean, far be it for me to encourage price bashing. He actually was. The problem wasn't Vincent Price. The problem was the era in which Vincent Price lived. Because so Ash got me the cookbook, one of his big cookbook for Christmas last year, and if you flip through it, it is some of the most vile looking food.
I've never seen a physical copy of it, but I had a PDF of it one time because I thought it sound, obviously I was like, I would love to cook like Vincent Price. And then I'm looking through it and I'm like, everything has mayonnaise in it.
And everything is brown or tan or just like kind of colorless and gray.
Yeah.
It's real sad. But I'll tell you what the show did. Pulled me up out of the doldrums.
It's, it's the voice and it's his general sort of like attitude towards life. He could read a phone book and I would be delighted.
And it's very much like the Julia Child show. Like, how it's PBS, so she'd fuck up and they'd just be like, just keep fucking going. Like, we don't have money to second takes. And he does that occasionally too. And he'll just be like, and the juice, the water juice. And then he just kind of rolls with it. It's great. It's great. I encourage everyone, find yourself some Cooking Price-Wise. You probably, you can get if you're in England, it's a Region B DVD, but if you have a region-free Blu-ray player, you can watch that. You can probably find it on YouTube.
Probably.
I think everybody should. You could watch him cook some brown food.
Have you ever seen Bill Hader do him on Saturday Night Live?
Yes.
It's very funny.
I have, because I was listening to one of the newer episodes of Ruined, and they did a Vincent Price movie, and the only cultural reference point they had for Vincent Price was Bill Hader's impression. Which, I mean, it's not that far off.
Thank you, and welcome to my Halloween special. Tonight, prepare yourself for a night of spooks and scares, as we have invited over some of our most famous friends for some tricks and also some treats. They've all agreed to wear costumes, so see if you can recognize them. Let's see who's at the door. I hope it's not a pirate and a spooky spaceman. From the film Sunset Boulevard, Miss Gloria Swanson. And from Lolita, Mr. James Mason.
Instagram at Bring Me the Axe Pod, and Dave's over there at That Queer Wolf. I encourage you to join us. It's a good time.
I encourage everyone to just get off social media. We all need to cut the cord.
Just cut the cord. Move on to something else.
Books. Read books.
And if you don't know, we have another movie called we have another podcast called 99 Cent Rental, where we cover all manner of video store madness on the weeks of Bring Me the Axes Off. Our latest episode covering Killer Condom is out now, and we'll be back next week with a look at Mad Foxes, which I have never seen, and I'm looking forward to it. The trailer was truly something.
A lot of weird dick in it.
It's European. I mean, it's very European.
I was literally at one point, I was like, why is there so much weird dick in this movie?
It's like a Danny McBride production.
Yeah.
You can also contact us directly at bringmetheaxepod@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or suggestions. Do let us know. If there's a movie that you love and would like to hear us give it the business. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, you can look us up over there at patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. There's a couple of tiers you can join there. Subscribers at the $5 a month tier can look forward to our bi-weekly X-Files rewatch pod. Do you think I'm spooky? Our monthly Bring Me the Axe Millennium Edition, which is a bonus episode in which we explore modern horror movie. As of this release, the episode that is out is Jamie Marks is Dead.
It's a real fucking downer, wasn't it?
Oh boy, that was a tough one. And I believe like tomorrow, the next episode drops. We'll be looking at May with our friend Tyler Hyde.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yep. There's also my bi-weekly DJ show, Radio Free Haddonfield, on the weeks when Do You Think I'm Spooky is off. You can expect a surprising mixtape of everything from rock to disco to punk over there. All Patreon subscribers, even the free tier, get access to our Discord server. And paying members get access to the additional channels like voice and video chat and the watch parties option where we watch movies. Usually episode drops on Monday. The Friday night we get in the channel, we watch whatever movie we're watching. So, it's a good time. It's quiet. It's just a couple of us. Just an intimate gathering.
Yeah. And once you're off social media, you take all that energy, pent up aggression, you just funnel it right into our Patreon. You get on the Discord, you yell at some people, you put some political memes up there.
No, don't do that because we explicitly have no channels for that stuff. It's supposed to be a place where you can come and just chill the fuck out.
Okay, what happens when I start doing my rage bait hot takes though?
and then I ban you.
My new comedy style is it's going to be a lot of women be shopping type of stuff.
Yeah. Once again, that's patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. And lastly, if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube. Search us by name and subscribe if you prefer to consume your podcast that way. And you'll be doing us a favor by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So get to it.
Yeah.
Takes a second. Costs you nothing.
Really helpful.
Yeah, it is pretty helpful. And it's nice when people take the time to write a little review, 100 words, maybe.
Yeah, don't say mean things about me. That's all.
They never do. Yeah. And if you listen on YouTube, do us a favor. Give the episode a like and leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. Just want to get all that way out of the way right at the top of the show because we got a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Got a fun one to talk about today. So here's what we are talking about.
And now...
So you met someone and now you know how it feels.
Somebody cut me. Somebody out there cut me.
Goody goody.
I wanted to see you bleed. I wanted to be sure you can. You'll bleed all right. So will the other one.
Debbie Reynolds is Adele. Shelly Winters is Helen. What's the matter with Helen?
Something the matter?
You okay, Helen?
Helen? Animal crackers in my soup.
Helen's dangerous.
He may be just a harmless crank. Got so deep, but I have fun. What's the matter? What kind of a screwball would do such a thing? Why pick on me?
Let's not be bothering the lady.
Are you scared?
Yes, of course I am. I'm scared as hell.
I'm so sorry. I always seem to frighten you, don't I?
Surprise entrances are one thing, Mr. Starr. Snooping is another.
How right you are.
Adele, please don't turn on the light.
Helen,
Yes,
do you wish me well?
of course I do, dear.
Some people who call themselves well-wishers do crazy things.
One cannot be too careful.
What's the matter with Helen? What's the matter with Helen?
What's the matter with Helen?
What's the matter with Helen?
Hey, I got a hot take right off the top. I don't think Shelly Winters is a good actor. I know
she's
she
great.
has an Oscar, but
She's got 2 Oscars, man.
does she have 2? I thought she just had 1.
No, it's wild. I think she's a riot. I think she's very funny. I think, unfortunately, she was going through some shit while making this movie.
Yeah, she's also not a great person to begin with. So
Yeah. Boy, I love a gothic horror movie. I love a piece of high weird gothic, and this is right in there. Right in there. With
it
that
is.
shit.
It is the grandest of guignols.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, truly a grand guignol piece.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of madness. It's bloody. We got some real wild, weird characters.
It's a high melodrama, you might say.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we're closing out our Pride series with this one,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a pretty queer movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's again, picked all these movies. Here's why. This is a movie. It is not explicitly queer. Well, it's not explicitly queer. There is a very, very strong undercurrent of queerness that we will talk about. It is also made by a kind of unsung, overlooked queer director.
I've got that in my notes about Harrington. Is I really, really feel like he never got his sort of. He does not occupy the canon in the way that he really ought to.
And there's reasons for that. Some of it has to do with his homosexuality. He's also not like there's nothing particularly remarkable about Curtis Harrington. We have not yet said it. Curtis Harrington is the director, but I've always appreciated his movies. He made a lot of TV movies that are fucking awesome. He's a particular style of gay that resonates with me, and I really have always appreciated him. I always like that kind of sensibility. So I chose this one because it's just campy as fuck, and I mean it's as campy and as gay as he could get away with in 1971.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's layered.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, as we were saying, this movie came out in 1971, year of our Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fucking Christ, the list of awesome horror movies that came out in 71 is crazy.
Yeah, this is one of 2 Curtis Harrington joints that drop in 71, both with Shelly Winters.
Who Slew Auntie Roo came out in 71 also?
Yep.
Damn, I thought that was the next year.
Same year.
Yeah, she was busy. So yeah, other movies released that year. The Abominable Dr. Phibes came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Vincent Price.
That's another one. I go back and forth. Like, I think on our House of Wax episode, I was like, I think the original the Vincent Price House of Wax is my favorite Vincent Price movie. And then I'm reminded that, like, no. The Abominable Dr. Phibes is my favorite Vincent Price movie.
His British era is super interesting. It's all extremely British. Theater of Blood tops my list from that era. Theater of Blood might be one of my favorites.
That one's
one of my
also
favorites,
great.
but,
I think the only one that is really kind of a miss, even though I do like it quite a bit, is Witchfinder General.
Witchfinder General has a different vibe. It was one of his favorite movies.
I thought that he did not like.
No, he hated the director.
Oh, okay.
They got along very, very poorly.
All right.
Like screamed at each other. He was like one of very few people that Vincent Price didn't like. And part of it had to do with the fact that Price was kind of afraid that he was being pushed out of movies in favor of younger people. It's a kind of a long thing, but he loved the movie, hated the director.
Damn. Yeah. We also had Mario Bava's A Bay of Blood that year.
Ah, fuck yeah. I love that movie.
Fucking God, right?
And Mario Bava put out like 6 movies that year.
Yeah. Busy man. You gotta really crank him in because he doesn't have many years left.
He was like, Mamma mia, I'm gonna die soon. My son will besmirch the family name.
Oh, be nice.
Well, I didn't make those movies. Lamberto did.
Yep. Blood on Satan's Claw also came out that year.
Also a banger of a film.
Jesus, I know, right? Cat of Nine Tails came out that year.
A pretty good movie.
But like Dario Argento, like easing into the scene.
Yeah.
And then rounding it out, just because I wanted to get a reference into one of our other episodes, and their Daughters of Darkness came out that year.
Mm-hmm. Hell of a movie.
Yeah, go back and listen to our episode of Daughters of Darkness. Watch the movie too; it's really good.
It is a fine lesbian picture.
Maybe my favorite of the lesbian vampire movies.
With what is arguably one of the most beautiful women in the entire world.
Oh yeah, Jesus. Yeah. So our director, this man named Curtis Harrington.
Curtis,
whom we have talked about in the past when covering James Whale movies for Universal, The Old Dark House, Bride of Frankenstein. He was a friend of James Whale during his later years.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a weird player in Hollywood who never really reached the heights that I personally think that he deserved. But he touched on numerous important qualities of the Hollywood experience, being Roger Corman and the seriously weird occult.
Yep. He was very good friends with Kenneth Anger.
Yeah. He, as a matter of fact, he introduced Kenneth Anger to Aleister Crowley and to Lima. He's the guy.
Nice. Yeah. He's a bit of a weird dude. He started out like Kenneth Anger. He started out making short films in the 40s, like avant-garde films. And have you ever seen any of them? I'm sure I've pitched them to you.
I've seen Wormwood Star just because it's kind of a part of the whole, though not really a part of the Kenneth Anger movies, but also just because of the Marjorie Cameron and the Aleister Crowley connections. Okay. Like it's super interesting that way.
So that's a little bit later. He starts out in like the 40s, like the mid to late 40s. His first movie he makes is called Fragment of Seeking from 46. And there's no dialogue in it because it's shot on like, I don't know, Super 8 or whatever. But it's like him stuck in this, it's a house, but it's kind of like a maze. And it feels like a metaphor for like him running away from women.
Huh, all right.
It's very odd. It's very interesting. He has another one that's called Picnic that came out a couple years later. And Picnic is super strange because it's just him on the beach. And I can't remember if he goes there with a family or if there are just lots of families at the beach picnicking. And it's just sort of like him wandering around, and the impression that I get, and I think it's the impression you're supposed to get in the movie, is like he's not like these other people. He doesn't fit into that normal kind of a heteronormative mode of being. It's pretty interesting. He's not as avant-garde as Kenneth Anger was, and he doesn't have the same eye that Kenneth Anger has for like aesthetics.
Yeah.
But he is a very interesting director. He's in one of Kenneth Anger's movies. He is in
no.
He's in Inauguration of the Pleasure.
Inauguration of the Pleasure. I was going to say the other one, Invocation of My Damien Brother, but
and I think he worked on Puce Moment with him as well.
Yeah.
So they were very close, and that was sort of his deal. But obviously, you can't make a living off of avant-garde films,
right,
no matter how good you are. And so he eventually sort of like switches over, and he makes what's the first movie? Is it Night Tide? The first one he makes?
Yes.
So he makes Night Tide with also a notable weirdo, Dennis Hopper. And then that kind of like, he gets into Hollywood via that. Then he makes a couple other weird movies. I think Queen of Blood.
Yeah,
for,
he made Queen of Blood for Corman. Yeah, he's also the vector that got Dennis Hopper into Thelema as well. Like he was basically turning all the weirdos in Hollywood onto Babylon.
But he was like a remarkably normal dude. Like, aside from the fact that he lived in a giant pink mansion. Other than that.
And practiced sex magic.
And sex magic,
He directed 2 for Corman. Well, he directed 1 for Corman, but he sort of oversaw the dubbing and re-editing of Voyage to the Prehistoric Planet, which is a really stupid but fun Soviet science fiction movie that they just kind of like recut.
They did add a couple things. There's a couple reshoots, but not much. Yeah.
And Queen of Blood, which is not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it has a very weird style to it.
Yep.
The stuff involving the sort of alien race that calls the human astronauts to it. Those scenes are fucking weird and awesome. That movie's pretty good. I like that one quite a bit.
It's never got I don't think it ever got like a proper release. It's always had kind of shitty transfers and stuff.
There's a Blu-ray of it, but it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one's ever and that's the problem is nobody's ever really bothered with his movies, which is kind of a shame because his shit is really interesting. Even his TV movies. So he goes from making like Queen of Blood and Night Tide. He gets a sort of I don't know if it's a deal, like a multi-picture deal or something, but he gets hooked up with UA. And so he does for United Artists, he does this and he does Whoever Slew Auntie Roo. Neither of them do very well because they're both pretty fucking weird movies.
Yeah.
Whoever Slew Auntie Roo is way weirder than this one is.
You could tell. Yeah. I actually kind of like that one more. This one I feel kind of whiffs on the ending. But
yeah, this one drags a little bit. It's gayer. That's why I went with it. But I like them both quite a bit.
Yeah. You could see it in this and Auntie Roo also. You could mistake this movie for a made-for-TV movie.
Oh, absolutely. That's in my notes a bunch of times.
The soundtrack is the score was composed for this movie, but it sounds like library music too.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing. The look of it. The only thing that's really kind of amazing.
We'll get into that because I think that's intentional.
Okay, to kind of go with the camp thing.
A little bit. I mean, they had a low budget. They're shooting probably, my guess is Paramount, something like that. Warner Brothers lot.
It was
maybe.
MG. Oh no, this was shit. No, I don't know.
Oh, it might have been MGM.
I think it was. If it was UA, then they were working on MGM's lots. Yeah.
So they don't have a lot of money. They're shooting. The whole thing is shot on a studio lot,
and it looks like it. And I love it. I love it.
It looks like it. But also the people that he used. Like one thing, if you learn anything about Curtis Harrington, and you could probably pick it up from all the shit we've just said, he is a lover and devotee of old Hollywood.
Yes,
and that is apparent in this movie. It is apparent in pretty much everything he ever did. But so his director of photography in this, Lucien Ballard, is an old Hollywood, like journeyman Hollywood cinematographer. A guy he did The Killing, The Wild Bunch, like big shit in the 50s and 60s. But before that, he was just like camera operator.
Yeah.
And then even the music is David Raskin I think. And he's a similar like old noir guy. So this is like sort of one of the later things that he ever did. It's like getting Bernard Herrmann to do Taxi Driver. It's like you're looking for a very specific sound that is not modern.
Yeah.
And so that's like all the people who work on this movie. And because this is a big cast, it's
like a lot of classic actors.
Yeah. It's got a lot of power behind it, even though they were all sort of older and kind of, he's doing that. Wanting to like that kind of Tarantino-ish thing of wanting to revive people's careers, with the exception of the stars, obviously.
Yeah, because I mean, like, really, I'll save it for when we get there, because this is him kind of going like, I want my own shit. Whatever happened to Baby Jane?
Yeah, and I mean he got the same dude, but he also like from here he then kind of gets stuck in like bad projects, a lot of made for TV shit. He does How Awful About Alan, which if you've not seen it, whew,
very funny titles that are.
I could have done that one for this because my God, is that a gay movie? That is Anthony Perkins as it's like a very like classic kind of noir trope where like he's psychosomatically blind and there's this big plot. It's ridiculous.
I'm glad you didn't, because I had a hard enough one time tracking this one down.
Oh yeah. So then he goes and he does Devil Dog, Hound of Hell,
which I saw that when I was like 11, and I loved it. It's got Richard Crenna in it.
Yep, Richard Crenna, Ike Eisenman. I think one of the what are the girls? The
one of the Richardses.
Yep.
I think it's Kim Richards.
Yep. And then he also does The Killer Bees.
Yep.
With Gloria Swanson, who I believe at the time was like, don't worry about me, I'll write all my own dialogue. He, not surprisingly, he had a reputation for being very good when it came to like difficult women.
Yeah. Which,
I always question the difficult woman thing.
I know.
Was she difficult, or did she just tell you to fuck off because you were a creep?
Yeah, she didn't want to fuck you, so.
Yeah, exactly. But in this case, no, these are actually difficult women in this. Well, one of them was anyway. But yeah, he made a bunch of TV movies. I love TV movies as well. And so I love Curtis Harrington.
Yeah. Our cast includes, as we said, Shelly Winters, Oscar Award winner, Broadway phenomenon. Her career spans nearly 70 years. She started out as a sort of sexy leading lady in B movies for Warner's.
I have got to question that because, look, I've seen her in those movies as well.
She was an attractive young woman.
Fine. I guess.
Yeah. But by the 1950s, she managed to break out into more serious fare. She won Oscars for The Diary of Anne Frank and also opposite Sidney Poitier in A Patch of Blue. By this point in the 1970s, it's almost as though she'd proven enough and was dedicated to just getting wild with it.
Being fucking crazy.
Appearing on TV more often than in 2 movies for Harrington, both quite silly. This movie and Who Slew Auntie Roo, as well as that the following year in The Poseidon Adventure. You can also find her in such films as Tentacles, The Visitor. The Visitor.
Listen, do you know what movies I love?
Tentacles and The Visitor.
The Poseidon Adventure, Tentacles, and The Visitor. Actually, Tentacles is a piece of shit, but I still love it.
It's so fucking terrible.
The Visitor is weird as hell, and I love that movie.
The Visitor, she is very obviously like, I don't know what's happening in this movie. I'm just picking up a check.
Much like Tentacles, both she and John Huston are in those movies because they were like, hey, you get a free vacation on the fucking Italian Riviera. And they were like, all right, fine. I'm in.
Yep.
Give me $20,000 and a free vacation. Sure.
Yep. You can also find her in The Delta Force.
Oh, yikes. Don't love that movie.
We've also got Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah.
I love Debbie Reynolds, mostly just because I fucking love Singing in the Rain.
Yes, Singing in the Rain. Great movie. Classic. Hours ago, I was reading an interview with her and I was just like, God, fuck you, Debbie Reynolds. You suck. Shut up.
Oh, yeah. She won everybody's heart in that movie. Spent the bulk of her career singing and dancing in some of the best known Hollywood musicals. She's Carrie Fisher's mom. She's
a world-class weirdo and new age enthusiast.
She was friends with Shirley MacLaine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lifelong philanthropist, curated a massive collection of Hollywood memorabilia and was a friend and ally to LGBTQ causes up to her death.
Yep.
She participated in charities for AIDS research in the 80s along with Shirley MacLaine, which must have been scandalous as hell for the time.
Mm-hmm.
She died the day after Carrie Fisher died.
Yep.
Crazy.
Not that long ago, right? It was like
2016.
28, yeah, 16.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to get out,
Yeah, that was a good time to bail out.
Yeah.
Rounded out, I mean, this is a really stacked cast. There's a lot of really great people in this, but Dennis Weaver. McLeod.
Ringo?
Axel?
Sinead? Chief? McLeod.
You know him as McLeod from the show of the same name. He's the driver of the Dodge Dart, Spielberg's Duel, released the same year as this movie. And he's
also in Gentle Ben.
Yeah. He's the night man in Orson Welles' Touch of Evil and stars in the season 2 episode of The Twilight Zone that I really like, Shadow Play.
Yep. Good one.
And he was also president of the Screen Actors Guild for a couple of years and an environmentalist. He sounded like a pretty decent dude.
Yeah.
So we've got a tagline.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how this is a tagline, but it is. So you met someone and now you know how it feels. Goody, goody.
Yeah, it's good. And you sang it, and that's
That's how you have to. You have to, because it's a fucking song in the movie.
The best you can do.
Just remember it for the end. That's all you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we cannot really talk about this movie without talking about camp.
Without talking about 1977's Ruby.
I had that in the Curtis Harrington list. That in the Killing Kind. No.
I just got that.
Yep. We say it a lot. What is camp? This or that is campy, we're always saying.
Well, we're not always saying it. One of us has very strong opinions on this.
This quality is particularly common in horror and exploitation movies. John Water and Divine built an empire on it. It is an emphasis on the artificial to such an extent that the artifice and exaggeration become the entire style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, we get a little, like I want to talk about Susan Sontag in a minute. We get real classy on this show every now and then.
Well, you can get classy.
Well, you are the classier of the two.
I'm going to say a bunch of mean shit about Susan Sontag, so classy that.
No, it's like we're talking about chopping heads off and ninjas over on 99 Cent Rental. Over here, it's Ingmar Bergman and Susan Sontag. Yeah.
Well, I am a little classy.
Yeah, we were discussing Wittgenstein over a game of backgammon.
Homer.
We were eating packets of mustard in Barney's car. Yeah. So Susan Sontag in her entirely too serious essay Notes on Camp describes it in many ways, but the way that I think is most succinct is that the ideas and concepts expressed through camp are best imagined to have quote marks around them. You know, it's the German artistic quality of kitsch.
So here's my problem with Susan Sontag. I'm gonna just get it.
Is it that while reading that essay, you could just smell the chain smoking and just imagine her writing it in a fucking beret and a black turtleneck? She
is so goddamn humorless.
It is.
I know she's important
for something that is expressed through humor and like a sort of outrageous, an element of camp. That fucking essay. And it's not a long read. It's a pretty quick one, but fuck me, it is completely devoid of any joy. It is so serious.
Here's the problem with that is, I'm not going to say that camp is exclusively gay, but I think it is fair to say that it is almost exclusively gay. And as we sort of wind down and get to the sort of production notes on this, my sort of conclusion on this is camp is sort of like the lingua franca, like of queerness in a way. Not queerness broadly, homosexuality.
Yeah.
It is a means. It is a means of gay communication. It became something. It was a way that gay men could communicate with each other, and it was a way that they could sort of talk back to straight culture that, in a way that wouldn't put them in harm's way because it was so, ridiculous and over the top.
I saw it described as an aesthetic of survival, which I thought was fucking cool.
Yes, so it is a means of identifying oneself to others. It's also that it is a way of sort of, it's kind of like drag, but the problem with Susan Sontag is that, she's not someone who would really kind of instinctively understand it. She's analyzing it and dissecting it from an intellectual place, and maybe there's a reason for that. I don't know. I don't really care. I think she just doesn't. She can see it from the outside. And that's what it looks like to her from the outside. And then, of course, there's, that quote from Christopher Isherwood, which is kind of a homophobic quote. And that's the other problem, is that a lot of these attempts to define or to kind of co-opt camp often come as a means of a cloak around homophobia, is as if to say, well, no, it's not, the faggy shit you see, it's not Paul Lynde. It's not that. It's more highbrow than that. It's like, first of all, fuck you.
Her essay defines it because there's low camp and there's high camp.
There is. Says a woman on the outside.
She is almost exclusively defining it in terms of like opera and
right. So she's already assigning value to it, certain values and in sort of a hierarchical way of saying what is and isn't, and what is high and what is low. And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Because like high camp is supposed to be like, it's a trip to the Guggenheim Museum. It's Andy
Right.
Warhol. It's the sculptures of Matthew Barney and Swan Lake.
And it's this idea of finding humor or expressing the outrageousness of a serious thing while also taking it seriously. And I think there is truth to that. That is kind of the best way to describe it. It's a way of being a little silly when something is a little too serious. And for gay culture, everything was too serious because everything was so fucking oppressive that this was one of the ways to be like, God, let's blow off some fucking steam.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you start to say, well, it's not those faggots that, prance around, in women's clothing, it's like, well, that sounds awfully homophobic. And that is essentially Christopher Isherwood's point in that quote is like, it really isn't that, darling. It's this. And it's like, first of all, stop telling everybody what it is and isn't. And second of all, that's wicked homophobic because it's basically like, no, it can't be that because that's too lowbrow. That's sleazy. That's a bad gay is essentially what they're trying to do, because that is what in the 60s and 70s, what a lot of the gay rights movement was doing was trying to differentiate the serious ones were trying to differentiate themselves from the faggots. And that was a way of being like, no, straight people, we're like you. Don't worry, we're not like them. And that is seriously harmful and also disgustingly shitty. And it did a lot of fucking damage.
Yeah. Yep.
But not Curtis Harrington. He's on the low end.
Yeah, right. That is.
He's one of my people.
Yep. Yeah. Low. What is it? So yeah. In her estimation, there's low camp, which is like drag, and it's the fucking red carpet at the Met Gala and Madonna's Vogue period, and Paris is Burning, and fucking glitter rock and David Bowie.
It's everything that associated homosexuality with negative things or things people perceived to be negative, which usually involved women.
I was saying, like from like a fucking observer's
that list
perspective,
you just gave included a lot of women.
That shit is the most interesting and the most fun to me.
Because what is camp and what is drag? It's usually things that are celebrating women and or prioritizing women in some way. And, if you're a serious person, especially if you're a serious good gay, you wanted to distance yourself from that as much as possible because that was the thing that people frowned upon. It wasn't the gay people in general, which, spoiler, it actually is that. But it was the ones that were bad gays that made everybody else look bad. The ones that had pride parades and shit like that. That's what they were trying to differentiate themselves from that.
Lame.
So when someone sits there and says, well, no, it's not that. Those are the ones we don't want to be associated with. We're reclaiming camp. It's like, you can eat a bag of dicks and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I'll see you at MoMA.
Please and thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, camp. It like, and the one thing I just wanted to say, it originates. The word itself, why camp, right? Like, where does the word come from? And it turns out that it comes from a French phrase, c'est camper, which just means to strike a pose. And it's a theater idea.
Yep.
Where you have to exaggerate. We say it all the time, doing it for the back rows.
Yeah.
You have to exaggerate your movement. You have to speak louder in order for the people in the entire theater to see you and understand what you're trying to express. And after a while, you just kind of do it all the time because it's fun.
Well, you do it in certain situations. Like I said, when people are doing it, they're doing it either for entertainment purposes like this or like drag, or they're doing it as a means of identifying themselves to people of that group to say like, hey, I'm like you, or we're the same. We can kind of be comfortable around one another.
Yeah.
And the same was true for shit like this, especially with Curtis Harrington. We talked a little bit about it when we did The Old Dark House. And this is a little similar in that this is a way of sort of subtly, just like James Whale was sort of occasionally doing, this is a way of subtly being like, hey boys, this one's actually for you. Enjoy.
Yeah.
He couldn't come right out and be like, here's a big gay movie where Shelly Winters is obviously playing a lesbian, but he could sort of send up certain ideas and convey to the audience and communicate to some of the people in the audience, like, you know what I'm talking about, wink, wink, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's what I said. It's movies and theater that put the pedal down on melodrama while winking at the camera.
Right. And camp doesn't, I think one of the assumptions is that it is a bad faith thing or it's a way of mocking. And that's absolutely not what it is. It's done in good faith. I think, a lot of what we do, it's not camp necessarily, but we talk shit about these movies and we make fun of them, but we do it because we love them.
Mm-hmm.
And we find things in them. And that's really what camp is doing. It's saying we're going to have fun with this thing that is serious and that we are taking seriously.
Yeah.
But also we're going to do it in our way and do it in a fun way.
Yeah. One of the things that I had sort of like found as I was kind of like looking for to find the sort of the bridge, the connective tissue between camp and like just the gay culture, for lack of a better term, was that it was like a way to kind of like in a deeply oppressive situation to just poke fun at conformity in a way that just lets you blow off steam in a way that must be really shit. I'm losing the word.
Well, it's also
a huge relief.
And it does it in a way that is so outrageous and so non-threatening that you're not going to be victimized by, because some guy gets upset.
Right. Because also like another thing that I saw was that it was sort of like a being sort of innately humorous. It has a way of sort of like disarming an otherwise hostile situation. And
when you do it so big and so silly, when you come across as so, in a lot of cases, very unmasculine or effeminate, it doesn't make people feel threatened, and therefore you sort of neutralized any threat of violence. That's sort of it doesn't always work out that way, obviously, but that's kind of the underlying idea. So it is a language in itself. It is a mode of communication.
Yeah. So in your face, Susan Sontag.
Yeah. So
we love low camp over here.
Shut up, Susan Sontag.
Shut up. Who do you think you are?
All this shit comes at a time when there was this big divide. Everyone likes, talk about Stonewall and how there was, the gays all came together. And it's like, yeah, they came together for about 5 fucking minutes and then they started to pick one another off in very much this way.
Yeah. Was it Notes on Camp? I believe was published in 1964. So yeah. Yep. Good times. Good times. As for the movie, Harrington approached Henry Farrell, who wrote Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, looking for a new script and received
surprisingly not a gay man.
Right, I know, right?
Who was not surprised to learn that?
Yep, looking for a new script, received a treatment that was basically What's the Matter with Helen in the broadest strokes, but another studio snatched up the option before he could. Lucky for Harrington, the movie was never made, and the option ended up in his lap after a time.
Henry Farrell also wrote Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte.
Yep. Yep.
Just hush, sweet. Just shut up. Shut up, Charlotte.
Listen, you're sweet, but just shut your mouth for a little while.
Up.
Yep.
Hush, Sweet Charlotte is basically the plot of How Awful About Alan. So it's like the same thing. He basically was just like, hey, remember that time you did Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte? What if we did that, but we had the guy from Psycho?
Yeah, he writes a lot of... He had a thing. It's like it's all sort of gothic.
Yeah, he also
like
wrote
if Daphne du Maurier just wrote Rebecca like over and over and over again.
And the entire every character in Rebecca was just fucking trash. Just like weird Southern trash.
Yeah.
He also wrote The House That Would Not Die, which I think is a movie that Curtis Harrington also directed for television. That is a very, very strange movie.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. This movie was originally called Best of Friends, but Otto Preminger was a dick about it because he was in production of something called Such Good Friends at the same time.
Otto Preminger was a dick about everything.
Everything. He was such an asshole. What's what we were talking about the other? Was it Tom Tryon?
Yeah. Is it Tom? Yeah, Tom's Tryon. He was in a movie. He started out as an actor. He's a guy who became a director or a writer, eventually novelist. But he started as an actor, and he was in a movie directed by Otto Preminger, and Otto Preminger was such an abusive asshole to him that he was like, fuck it, I'm done. I'm not going to be in any movies anymore. And they were like, oh, you don't have to work for Otto Preminger. And he was like, no, I'm never going to be in movies again. Like, it caused him such mental health strain.
Good times. It's like working with Michael Winner.
Yep.
Yep. Debbie Reynolds came on as Adele as one of the first to be cast, but she actually took on an uncredited producer role for some reason.
Yeah, she put in $800,000 of her own money.
Yeah, she put almost $1 million of this into her. She wasn't just like a producer; she was the producer on this. Even though like there's another dude who gets a producer.
Yeah, so because he brought the script to her. She had some deal with United Artists. I think it was United Artists she had a deal with, where they were like she was supposed to produce a movie for them, and she was like, "What about this one? I love this script so much. I definitely want to do this movie." And they were like, "Are you sure?" And she was like, "Yeah, and I'll put in $800,000 of my own fucking money," and she did.
Yeah,
because admittedly, this is a very weird movie. It's like I can't imagine who the audience was. Who's your target audience?
I can't either because it's
6 gay men in their 70s, I guess,
with fond memories of the Silver Age of Hollywood. Yeah. Shelly Winters came in sight unseen. Harrington simply pitched her the outline. She was apparently going through some shit at the time of the movie's production.
Yeah.
It was a little too close to the Helen character. She tells a story about how she had a dream about shooting the scene where she stabs Adele, but the knife turned out to be real.
No, Shelly, Debbie Reynolds had the dream.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she was like, so Debbie Reynolds has a dream where Shelly Winters stabs her in like they're rehearsing for the movie, but she actually stabs her. And so she says that like the next day she was so, freaked out by the dream. She went and checked the prop department and it was a real knife and she would have really stabbed her. And I'm like, what? Is that true? Why? Is that true, Debbie Reynolds? Or are you telling stories again?
Why on earth would they have a real fucking prop knife? Like a real knife?
It's not like a gun where you could be like, oh no, this thing's actually loaded. Like it's a rubber retractable knife. Yeah. Like you'd notice when you pick it up and it's not a rubber retractable knife.
Who knows?
Maybe she was just picking up on vibes because Shelly Winters was really having a time. So she tells another story.
Is this the one about where she like picked her up on Sunset? She's like in her fucking bathrobe or something.
Debbie Reynolds went to like, so they drove to the studio every day. So Debbie Reynolds goes to pick her up in the morning and she sees this lady like trying to flag down cars on the side of the road. And it's fucking Shelly Winters. And she's in her bathrobe and she's like, hey, what the hell, Shelly Winters? And she was like, oh my God, I thought I was going to be late. Quick, let's get to the studio. And she was like, okay, but I think we need to talk to some people when we get there.
Yeah. Shelly Winters had basically like a counselor or a therapist essentially who was like, I don't know if you should do this movie.
Yeah.
And she's like pish posh.
So I don't know a lot about Shelly Winters. I know that she had a reputation as a very, very difficult person to work with. And
like Karen Black difficult or not Karen Black, Faye Dunaway.
A little bit more like that. She wasn't, I don't know that she was quite as narcissistic as Faye Dunaway is, but a lot of people have said this. And again, every time I hear that, like, oh, difficult woman trope, I'm like, yeah, we'll see about that. But no, it sounds like she actually was a pretty difficult person.
Because like for basically on everything I read about her, she basically sounds like she has bipolar disorder.
She sounds like she is insufferable to be around. So Samuel Arkoff tells a story who does a bunch of stories about her in his biography, his autobiography. And one of the things that is pretty consistent is that every time he would make a movie with her, because AIP made like 4 or 5 movies with her.
Yeah, she did she was like
Bloody
Bob
Mama.
Barker, a couple
Yep. And every time they would, she would constantly try to rewrite the scripts, and not just like her own dialogue. She would try to rewrite the dialogue of all the other characters that interacted with her character.
Weird.
But never the ones who had nothing to do, like scenes that she wasn't in. She didn't give a shit about those. And so like she's just constantly trying to do that. And he said, as much as possible, we tried to keep those creative efforts to a minimum. Like he seemed to have a pretty good sense of humor about it, but in the moment that had to be infuriating.
Oh, sure.
Like at one point,
especially when you're doing a Corman movie, because like you have $5 to make a movie in like 30 in like a half an hour.
And it wasn't that much different with this movie. Like they threatened to kick her off this movie and replace her with somebody else. And she finally was like, okay, fine. I'll stop trying to make the movie better, I guess. I wanted to go to my trailer anyway. Yeah, so it was like a lot of that shit where she's just like constantly being like, let's do it this way instead. And they were like, no, let's do it the way it's written, Shelly Winters. She really, really wanted to like, really leaned into the lesbian part of this. Like she was like, oh, I interpreted this character as a lesbian character. And she's like constantly trying to play it up. And then every time they would like, show the studio, they would like be like, all right, here's the dailies. They'd be like, nope, right. Cut all of that.
Yeah.
And so there's a
because it's fairly subtle in the end product.
It was not her version of it. So there's a scene where they dump a body into a pit, whatever. And like, so when they shot it originally, she ad-libbed this moment where she kisses Debbie Reynolds on the mouth.
But like not like a passionate kiss. It's just like a peck on the.
I mean, they're not fucking, but like it was a very obvious like lesbian overture, and it was not in the script. Debbie Reynolds was caught off guard, and they had to cut it because
they would have gotten an R rating.
Yeah, and so Debs has a different version of this story that she tells, and in her version, I'm going to say, quote. I just finished a film with Shelly Winters where we're both friends because our teenage sons have been convicted of murder, and Shelly interprets our friendship as having a kind of lesbo undercurrent. My new band, Lesbo Undercurrent. It isn't even in the script. Shelly just sees it that way, and she threatens to kiss me on the lips in this one scene. I told her, you go ahead and try, Shell. I'll wrap you right in the mouth.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, fucking calm down, Debbie Reynolds.
Jesus. Debbie.
So it sounds a little bit like maybe Debbie Reynolds. And this was like a long fucking interview with LA Times that I read from, I think it was like 72 maybe.
Yeah.
Or it might have been 71. And it seems like she's really very uncomfortable with like the idea of sex and nudity in film. She said, sex belongs in the bedroom, not on the screen. It's not a spectator sport. It's like, just relax. Nobody's trying to get you to take your clothes off, Debbie.
I know.
Calm down.
I know. Well, that was the thing. She was like the smiling face of the fucking movie musical, and that was just not happening in those movies.
But yeah, so she keeps trying to like we're gonna make it a lesbian character, and then every time like Harrington had to be like, Shelly, we can't make it a lesbian character. They won't let us. Just stop.
He's like, I'm trying to be subtle here. I'm trying to just imply it. Roll with me, please.
He also wanted the movie to be more violent and shocking. And it does. I mean, there are moments that are like kind of catch you off guard a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they didn't want an R rating. So because at the time it was either PG or R.
Yeah.
There was no in between. And if they had kind of gone the lesbian route or they had gone the violent, like the bloody violent route, that would have gotten them one without anything. But the lesbian thing, it still sort of fed the gossip rags, because this movie also has Agnes Moorehead in it, who was lesbian.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of rumors, and I don't know if it's true or whatever, but like a supposed lesbian relationship between Agnes Moorehead and Debbie Reynolds.
Huh.
I don't know if there's any truth.
Maybe that's why she was protesting so hard to the LA Times.
Why, I would never. I'll wrap you in the mouth, you cad.
Agnes Moorehead.
I fucking love Agnes Moorehead. She's great in this. She's great in everything.
Yeah.
Put Agnes Moorehead in more movies. What's she doing these days? Get her on the horn.
Let's see. Yeah. Boy.
She's dead. That's the joke.
She's probably in the ground.
She's long dead.
Yep.
She's fantastic. She's in a movie called Dear Dead Delilah that came out probably a couple years after this. It's a very like, and then there were none kind of storyline, but it is also fabulously campy.
That's great. So, thoughts on what the press think of this here film?
Wait, there was one thing that I wanted to mention. The television, the vibe of this movie.
Oh yeah.
So originally Curtis Harrington had wanted to use dissolves to transition between the scenes.
Yeah.
And the actual producer of the movie was like, absolutely not. No. Which I think is probably a good idea, because dissolves would only have made this feel more like a TV.
Oh God, I know.
So thank God.
I know. And Star Wipe.
Yeah, exactly. Also, there was a novelization tie-in, and I definitely want it.
I know. I found out about that. And there was a weird note about, like, there was one time where you could buy the soundtrack on LP, but you could only get it through a mail order from a company that pressed apparently just this record. And there were no track breaks, there were no track titles, and none of the piano music was in it.
That sounds like it was probably a bootleg.
Yeah.
Weird
bootleg, but yeah.
What did the press think? Well, they did not like this film.
No shit.
A couple of them. There's not a lot. There's not a lot like sassy fun, but I'll hit you with some of them. This is George McKinnon of the Boston Globe, my paper of record. There's a good deal of blood and some shock episodes before it's all over, but in between, you have that great scene of Debbie and a horde of kids tapping out Goody Goody, and that damn song is reprised so much it will stay in your mind long after you've forgotten what was the matter with Helen. Ba-dum-bum. Jesus. Anybody who's like, you've got that great scene with Debbie Reynolds tapping it out with the kids, like, girl, stop.
He's just here for the dancing.
I guess so. Now, Vinny, on the other hand, New York Times, Monsignor Canby. Mm-hmm. The film spends quite as much time making fun of the sappy 1930s period as it does on its not terribly mysterious plot. The thing that's the matter with Helen is that she's a religious nut and definitely loony, which is obvious so early in the movie that what's the matter with Helen never really has much place to go. And once again, much as I think he's kind of a bitch, Vincent Canby, nail on the head. Like, just that's the problem with Helen, is that, like, yeah, you pretty much got it figured out a quarter of the way into the movie.
Yeah.
Roger has something to say about it, quite a long thing to say about it, and it will surprise you. It's shitty.
Oh God.
What's the Matter with Helen stars Debbie Reynolds and Shelly Winters, neither of whom look as bad as Betty Davis, Joan Crawford, etc. did in the stills from the earlier Whatever movies. No, this is coming from Roger fucking Ebert, so I wouldn't be commenting on people's looks, sir. Especially at the end. Ooh. But they look plenty bad enough. That's one of the sadistic pleasures to be had from movies like this, I guess. For years, we've seen movie stars dolled up, glamorized, shot with fuzzy lenses, and giving Hollywood beauty tips on Art Linkletter's house party. Oh, way to date yourself. Now we see what happens when the hairdressers and makeup artists have their revenge. There's so much to keep up with or away from. In any event, What's the Matter with Helen isn't exactly the cat's bananas, or however the saying goes. I fucking hate...
What is he doing?
I don't know. I think he sucks. I don't think he's a particularly good writer. I know other people do. I disagree, but I hate the shitty snarkiness where it's like, this movie is so droll.
Talk about the fucking movie, dude.
Yeah. Don't be like, oh, these fucking old bitches, they look like hell. Speaking of camp.
Oh, man.
And finally, not everybody hated the film. My boy, Kevin Thomas, Los Angeles. I would have loved to hear what Sheila had to say, but this is maybe a little early for her. Kevin Thomas, Los Angeles Times. Harrington has directed with such style and judgment that without destroying the film's essential seriousness, he can get away with some affectionate satire of stage mothers and awful vintage kiddie reviews and other 30s fads and fancies, and incorporate as baroque a figure of rather Jesus Christ, run-on sentence. A figure of a rather sinister fun as Michael McLemore's wonderful old Hollywood ham turned drama coach. That is one sentence.
No shit. Is that how you pronounce that name? Michael McLemore?
Yeah. He tried to fancy it up a bunch. It's McLemore. Yeah, that is one sentence, and it is 7 lines. In case anyone was curious, a sentence really shouldn't go beyond 3 lines. FYI.
There you go.
That's it. Most people were like, yeah, this movie doesn't really go anywhere. It's a little bit sluggish, a little cheesy. But Kevin Thomas liked it.
That's good. Because I like it also. Yeah. But again, I'm sort of with the kind of negative criticism of it, because it does sort of kind of spin its tires for a little while. And then they're like, I suppose we should end this.
Yeah, it's 45 minutes of movie stretched out to an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yep.
And it is saved by some seriously campy dialogue, some decent acting. Debbie Reynolds is a good actor. Mm-hmm. I think she's a prude, but beyond that, she's a good actor. She's great at this. Shelly Winters, much as I think she's terrible as a person, she's magnetic to watch. You can't stop looking at her.
That's right.
So yeah, it's a kind of a slog, but there are moments where you're like, oh, that's right. That's why I'm watching this movie.
Right. So, shall we?
We can and we must.
All right, here we go. So we open on newsreels about FDR addressing the nation during the Great Depression. And then there's a
Dateline, Hollywood, California.
There's a clip of Eleanor Roosevelt about to board the Spruce Moose for a flight to Haiti.
We can take the Spruce Moose. I said, get in. Look, Eleanor Roosevelt, she sure was a handsome woman, wasn't she?
Handsome woman.
My God. Yeah. And I mean, hey, there's something about opening on a handsome lesbian.
they gotta put you there right there in the middle of the 30s so that you know.
And that is quite a mid-Atlantic accent that she has.
It's practiced. Yep. There's also a clip of the sentencing hearing of two young Leopold and Loeb-style murderers. Among the scene are the killer's moms, Helen Hill and Adele Bruckner.
Now, here's the question: do you think the Leopold and Loeb-ness of it all, is that a nod to the era, a nod to queerness, or both?
I think that it would be a little too clever if it was both. I think it was just like, well, this is what was in the headlines at the time.
Because I don't think, I mean, the queerness of the Leopold and Loeb thing is actually very complicated. And so I don't know that they would have, but I'm not sure how much of that got played up in the press. It certainly did, but not quite as much as people think it did.
Right. Yeah. So they're being ushered through the crowd to their car. And then after the credits, we resume with Adele and Helen, whose hand was cut by one of the people in the mob outside the car.
Somebody fucking cuts it. This is what happens when you don't have television. People turn into savages. Right. You go out to the courthouse, you're cutting ladies.
Just
because you got nothing else to
slashing
do.
Up their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Everybody surrounds the car trying to get a look at him. When they go back to Adele's place, she cleans up Helen's wound. Adele indulges in a little gin.
Oh, man. And Shelly Winters in this moment, when they walk into the house, Shelly Winters, she looks like a big brown snowman. Like she's in this big, like, the costumes look cheap as shit in this movie.
Yeah.
She's in like this big felt coat with a big felt hat. She looks just like Frosty the Snowman, but brown. Beautiful.
Yeah. Adele is planning to skip town and travel out to old Hollywood, where she intends to move her dance school.
Yeah, because it wasn't her fault that her son turned out to be a murderer. Or as she says, it wasn't my fault that his father took a powder.
What?
That's what she says.
That's what she says. But what does that mean?
I think she's blaming the fact that he turned out to be a killer. She's essentially saying it's not my fault.
Yeah,
it's someone else's fault.
It's his dad's
But it's because
fault.
his father ran off. He didn't have a father. Thus, he turned out to be a murderer, because that is what happens. Are you not paying attention to Republican talking points?
Right.
Because apparently they haven't changed for, about 100 years now.
Right. As they talk, they receive a phone call for Helen. It's the guy who cut her hand, and he threatens the two of them.
This shit is creepy. Like the call itself, it's not quite let me lick it creepy. Like it's not Black Christmas.
Yeah.
But he says, I wanted to see you bleed. I wanted to be sure you can, which is a pretty fucking eerie line.
Yep. Helen wants
also,
to call.
I would add too that this is a thing, I mean, as much as they're sort of like playing it up for the kind of mystery of the movie, this is a thing that like actually happens all the time, which is so disgusting to me. Like when like a person's child commits a terrible crime, and like obviously that person goes to jail or whatever, or is killed. So there's no one really there to direct your anger at, like public anger at. Like I think about the woman, I think it's Dylan Klebold's mother, who wrote a book, and like she was just like, we did absolutely everything we thought was right, and he still turned out to be the like school shooter.
Yeah.
And like so it's like they're playing it up in this movie, but it's like no, people are actually this shitty, and they do stuff like this all the time.
Damn.
I mean, hell, that's 80% of what the internet is.
Right. So yeah, Helen wants to call the cops, but Adele begs her not to on account of how much more attention it'll bring to them.
There's also something really strange about this scene is the lighting. Is this where they're standing in the dark?
Yeah.
Or is that the next scene?
That's the next scene.
There's like a neon sign that keeps flashing.
Oh yeah, it's like they're bathed in red.
But only periodically. And it's weird because it's such an obvious choice. Like, this is not a subtle, like, they decided to make this the lighting for the scene. And the neon sign keeps flashing and flashing. And I don't really know what's being conveyed in that moment. Like, red is obviously stop or warning or something like that. But, like, how does that apply in this moment?
It's just, it's a little noirish.
It's that it's so obvious that I was just like, what's happening?
Yeah. Yeah. By night, Adele suggests that Helen come to Hollywood with her, and they'll change.
Oh man.
They'll change.
And
their
Lenny
names.
gets so excited. She's like, really, George? Really? We can go to Hollywood?
Yep.
Put a pin in that. Come back to Lenny.
I was going to say, yeah. So, they change their names in order to shuffle off their old selves, and then they receive another call.
She's like, we'll get Clarence Darrow to defend the boys, which is funny because Clarence Darrow actually did defend the boys.
Right. So now we cut to sunny California. Helen plays the piano while Adele leads a group of little girls in a tap dance class.
Yeah. I fucking hate when they put dance numbers in movies. Like we've made it very well known that we enjoy old Hollywood films. I fucking love them all the time. Absolutely hate that every single one of them had to have a fucking song and dance number in it. Like, Jesus Christ.
Know. I'm a sucker for a movie musical.
I mean, like, if I'm setting out to see, like, I go into Singing in the Rain knowing that this is going to be a musical.
Yeah.
I go into Anchors Away knowing that it's going to be a musical. I don't go into every single movie thinking it's going to be a musical, and yet they always seem to. It's like when Ricky Ricardo would sing a fucking song on I Love Lucy. It's like, Jesus, do you have to shoehorn this shit into everything?
I know. But it's like, hey, we got Debbie Reynolds. What are we going to do? Not have a dance scene?
But it also makes me think, every time I see it, I'm always just like, God, women had to be able to do absolutely everything in Hollywood. You had to be able to act, sing, dance, and you had to look beautiful.
Yeah.
You probably had to make sandwiches too.
Right. You remember, what is it? Maybe probably about 20 something years ago, like when every fucking movie had a big choreographed dance number in it.
Yes.
What was that?
500 Days of Summer and all that other bullshit.
Yeah. Like even fucking Clerks 2 had one.
I think people thought it was cute.
I mean, yeah.
Or ironic. Now, you know how I feel about supposedly ironic things. Mm-hmm. I think that shit is dumb as hell.
Yeah.
I find that like indie, let's do quirky stuff. Let's have a fucking manic pixie dream girl. I find that shit exhausting. Just make a goddamn movie. Shut up. God. But then we pan down the line of either disapproving or extremely approving mothers. And this is probably the first very campy moment. The dance moms.
Oh, yes, of course. So yeah, they all rush up on Adele and Helen, nervously demanding to know if scouts from all the studios will be there. One of the girls, Winona, appears to be the real star of the class.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Adele goes back into the school, she can't find Helen, who is out back behind the school, nervously attending to a bunch of rabbits in a hutch.
Oh, Jesus, Lenny, put the rabbit down. But one of the things that Winona out when she like sees her out to the car or whatever, she mistakes the housekeeper for her mother.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm just the housekeeper. I'm not the mother. And the girl goes, we don't talk about my mother. She's bad. That was my first laugh out loud moment.
I love it. Through the conversation, mostly about what she's going to do with all the rabbits and the topic of actress Marion Davy, we pick up another clue that Helen observes some sort of Christian religion in a way that'll probably be relevant to the plot later on.
Or, I mean, maybe not. Just very vaguely, I guess.
So Adele resolves to give Helen a Hollywood-style makeover. Helen is
shopping montage.
Suddenly overcome with the memory of her husband's death. They were riding out to the plow at their farm for a picnic lunch when he got off to check the harness.
Oh my God.
And then the horses were suddenly spooked and he was dragged under the blades of the plow.
It is probably the best moment of the entire movie.
I love it. It's shocking because it happens extremely suddenly and they just flash over the body being run over.
Yeah, and it's like, I was a little confused at first. Also, you skipped over the entire shopping montage when because I have a note that says this makeover feels like a real uphill battle. Because she's like, what type are you? You're supposed to be this type, or you're supposed to be a fucking Marilyn Monroe type or whatever. And I was like, I think she's a bit of a George Washington type.
Or Eleanor Roosevelt.
Seriously. But like the flashback, so like falling under a plow is one thing. But falling into the blades of a manual plow, whew, what a way to go.
So wild.
What
It's
a
so
way
crazy.
to go.
Yeah. So she seems to indicate that this is the moment when everything went wrong for her son. Because he like blames this all on her or something like that.
Well,
don't tell him yet. Don't tell him yet.
Okay, I don't want to spoil the spoil.
So they are suddenly surprised by the arrival of a man in shadow. Hamilton Starr is here to offer his services as a speech and voice coach. He is fully over the top and rolling his R's with ruthless efficiency. Ruthless efficiency.
Oh, wow. That was good.
Yeah, I've been practicing that shit.
I mean, you're not quite as good as Hamilton Starr, who is a real proper queen.
I love him. The fact that his character goes kind of unresolved drives me crazy because I love him.
He is here to be a red herring.
Yeah.
He is also here to be the obvious sort of gay foil.
Yeah.
He is extremely queer coded. Everything about him, his manner of speech, his dress, the fact that he wears a ton of makeup. He's catty in a way that I think people would have probably recognized as gay. He's very theatrical. Like everything about him is like, hey, look at this homosexual. And that will be his character. And yet they try to sort of play it as though, could he be the killer? Or could he be a potential lover? No. To both? I guess. I mean.
Right. So the next day at class, Adele demonstrates a sort of tap the girls should all be working toward. It's a pretty fancy number, actually.
Now, look, this fucking ham, you know that she went into this and she was like, okay, I'll give you $800,000, but I get at least one dance number.
Right.
Where I get to show off what I can do.
Yep. The mothers all fret over their daughters being scouted by the studios, and Adele meets Winona's father, voicing concerns that she doesn't wear the uniform leotard like the other girls. Winona, it turns out, is kind of a little shit, and her father is a rich guy who isn't helping matters, and then he asks her out to dinner.
Yep. Yeah, you just tell gay men made this movie.
Right. There is an unusual quality about this character of Link in that
I have a big thought on Link
because
in a little bit.
His whole thing, like he's not a shithead.
He's not a shithead.
He's just a guy. He's never played up as the potential like caller. He's never a threat.
He's a decent person.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
Like later on, she will disclose like, oh my God, my son is a murderer and I thought you would leave. And he was like, oh, is that all? Like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
Not a big deal.
Right.
And it's like, that's again, like, it's this idea that like, you don't know a lot about men, I guess, or you haven't thought a lot about men. And so you kind of just like, or like straight men, I guess. And so you sort of like write it this way and direct it this way. And it's like, he's just a guy in the movie.
Yeah.
And contrast him with Macklemore's character, who is just like, yes,
he's
come
the yes,
in, girls,
he's the yes
ladies.
Guy.
He is. He's like,
I had a stroke.
Yeah, it's very like he's just this guy, and it's like, what are men? Like, what's a guy? And he's just like, what is this? He's like, yeah, he's tall. He's got hair. He wears suits. Drives a car. He's a guy.
Yeah.
This is a guy. This is normal men.
Just an innocent man. He's just an innocent man.
He really is. And that's it. Like, he's interesting. But I do think it's interesting that he's not written as like shaming in any way, because what happens over the course of the movie is that Shelly Winters her character, Helen, I'm like, why can I never remember her name? It's in the
fucking title.
Jesus. The titular character, she becomes more, as she becomes more unhinged, she also becomes more conservative. Whereas Adele, Debbie Reynolds' character, is is clearly like trying to leave the past behind and really start over in this way that's like, this time around, I'll be glamorous. And you can see a world.
She is glamorous.
She is. And you could see a world in which that would have been thrown back in her face in sort of like, in like a Baby Jane kind of way, or in like a All That Eve kind of way. Like, you're old now, you can't do this. And that's never the case. Like, Debbie Reynolds throughout this movie, it's unclear how old they're supposed to be. Shelley Winters looks frumpy as fuck. So I think we're supposed to assume they're middle-aged.
They might be about like 50 years old, because Shelley Winters, I think, was 50 when she made this.
And Debbie Reynolds, she is gorgeous throughout the entire movie, but she just gets more glamorous looking. Like, they've peroxided her hair. She is I mean, she looks like what's her face from Daughters of Darkness. Like, she is stunningly beautiful, and she just gets kind of more so as that goes along. And it's like that. If this were made by straight men, I can see a world in which all of that shit would have been thrown back in her face. And it never is. Like, it's never. You keep. I was just waiting for the moment for someone to like say something shitty, and like Shelley Winters does eventually say shitty things, but obviously there's a certain jealousy angle there.
And there's something wrong with her. Something is the matter.
There is something the matter. And every time, like, people were like, "Oh, what are you watching?" I was like, What's the Matter with Helen? And they're like, is that the one on HBO? And I was like, no, that's Something's Wrong with Auntie People kept getting confused. It's like a very different movie. She got drunk and killed a bunch of children. Dark as hell.
Yeah.
But so back at dance class, their teacher's being such a fucking showboat. Like, lady, this is a kid's dance class, not the Apollo. Put it away.
I know, she's out there busting out the Buffalo, doing a Cincinnati twist.
She's fucking, God, what was it? Cincinnati Stroll, I think.
Cincinnati Stomp.
Oh, God. And then, like, but as soon as Dennis Weaver starts talking, because I was like, oh, Dennis Weaver is a good looking fella, steps up, and he starts talking, and I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that accent.
That accent is crazy.
Because I don't believe he is Southern in real life.
No, I think he was from Illinois or something like that, or Michigan or something like that. It's just like a guy who, Midwest or something like that. No, it's because the character's from Texas.
Yeah, and he is cartoonishly Texan.
He is the Texas oil man from The Simpsons.
Yeah, he really is. Like, he could have been like, I'll say, and I would have been like, yeah, that feels right.
Yep. So, Helen is, meanwhile, startled to find Star sneaking around the studio. She screams, like, every time she sees him.
She does. And I gotta be honest, this is the one time in the movie I'm gonna be on Helen's side, because the guy's a fucking weirdo and he's wicked inappropriate. Like, he just keeps popping up. Like, he literally, she could be looking in a mirror and all of a sudden he would pop out from behind her. Like, and he's not a small man. And you can tell he's not the kind of guy that does anything quietly. And yet...
Yeah, as a certified large person, I understand.
Yeah, he is just constantly, he's just doing weird shit. And he's just like, well, I don't know why she finds me so threatening. I'm like, really? You don't?
Oh,
you keep letting yourself into her house.
You're supposed to get something to eat. You pop out of the refrigerator. You're supposed to put something on. You step
There's
out
no
the closet.
food. There's only zoo.
Oh, yeah. So now he runs them through his references, which is a bunch of Hollywood legends.
It's also, I think it's supposed to be a bunch of lies.
I think he's full of shit, yeah.
Because they're like, he's like, Sir Laurence Olivier. I'm like, girl, you don't know Sir Laurence Olivier. Get the fuck out of here.
So, Adele gets ready for her date while Helen cleans up, listening to Sister Alma on the wireless. And Sister Alma is like a stand-in for Amy Semple McPherson. It's a crazy, interesting character in the sort of storied history of
that
Los
old
Angeles.
Hack.
Oh, man. Yeah. Pentecostal evangelist, fire and brimstone preacher,
who turned out to be the opposite of what she was preaching.
Her disappearance is such a strange story, but yeah, she's like the first preacher to use the radio ostensibly. She's like the first mega preacher, church preacher. Yeah.
Took in tons of money, had tons of affairs with lots of married
as they
men.
do. It's apparently that's how you do it.
There's did you watch any of the reboot of Penny Dreadful?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's
There's an interesting character based on her in that.
She's in that. There was what is it? Tatiana Maslany plays her, or rather, a character like her on Perry Mason.
Yep.
Yeah, she appeared in like a lot of stuff, like all of a sudden.
Yeah. She was also, I think, there's the character, one of the characters in Carnival, I think, is sort of loosely influenced by her as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, she's a real con artist.
Yep. Adele answers the door thinking that it's her date, Link Palmer, but it turns out to be a vagrant looking for something to eat.
Getting all up on her too.
He is in her face.
Yeah. She is frightened because as she tells Link when he arrives, poverty frightens me, I guess. That is I want that on a t-shirt.
I will. Poverty frightens me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poverty frightens me, I guess.
Yep. So Link shows up, sees him off with a little change.
Mm-hmm.
So then he takes her out to a casino boat.
Yeah, they go fucking riverboat gambling.
Yeah, which is a thing they used to do in California until about the 40s. Yep. She lies to him about never being. Was she married?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, because she's trying, like, Adele's whole thing is like, fake it till you make it. She's going to be glamorous. She's going to leave everything behind her. Like, she keeps, Helen keeps being like, well, have you heard from your son? Have you written to your son? And she's just like, man, look, I left that shit back in Chicago. Like, I've got a new thing. We're going riverboat gambling. Shut up. They're going to ruin this. Don't queer the deal.
Right. Yeah.
She's trying to just kind of pretend none of it ever happened. And her big fear is like, he's going to find out because of course he's going to find out. The Leopold and Loeb case was a national case. Like it was a huge case. Everybody would have read about it.
Yeah. Yeah. The orchestra strikes up. They're playing the tango, and she's like, "Hey, you want to do the tango?"
You better believe Debbie knows how to tango.
And he's like, "Yeah, I don't dance, girl."
Yeah, but don't worry about it, because
he spots a dude.
Link's got a tango guy.
He's got a dude at a table who he's just like now, he gives him a knowing look and slips him a 10.
I had a question about this. Was this dude? So the guy, Link looks over. Sort of nods to the guy. Guy nods back, comes over and asks if the lady would like to dance. They do. They get up and do the tango.
He's a hell of a dancer.
And the tango is such a fucking awkward dance. I know it was supposed to be sexy, but it is a weird dance. Anyway, my question is, was this guy just like sitting there all night in the event that someone might want to tango with him and didn't have a partner?
Is he like the gambling riverboats like Gigolo? Like, is he a gigolo?
I think that's the case. Either that, or he's like I said, he's Link's tango guy. He's like, look, from time to time, I take ladies out riverboat gambling, as one does. And ladies like to dance, like to tango. I myself do not tango. You seem like a gigolo. I will pay you, sir. I'm an oil man from Texas. I will pay you money to just sit at this table all night. Should my lady friend want to tango?
Yeah.
With a Latin lover such as yourself.
Yeah, he's definitely gigolo. He's there to pleasure the ladies in a purely non-physical way.
And like you got to wonder, like when they walk in, was like the maitre d' just like, Dennis Weaver, in the event that you can't do the tango, we have a man for that. He is at that table. You will simply nod to him. He will nod to you. The deal is done. This
might have been a Hollywood thing.
They
had a handsome, swarthy gentleman.
It would not surprise me in the least bit if that were a Hollywood thing.
You were a rich guy who just, maybe you don't like to dance, maybe you can't dance, maybe you're like me, you just got no instinct for it. Mm-hmm. And but your lady, she loves to dance. And so
they get to it.
Yeah. They get to it. They do it. Capturing the attention of the entire ballroom. When the date is over, he drops her off, kissing her in the car while Helen looks on from the window above the street.
Nothing weird about that.
Nope. Adele stomps into the apartment, drunk, and finds Helen decorating the hall for the dance recital, but she shuts her down, insisting that Link will pay for a real recital.
Yeah, she's just sitting there in the hallway with like balloons, and she's like, "Hey, want some coffee?" And it's like, lady, it is like 2:00 in the morning. First of all, what are you doing? Second of all, who drinks coffee at 2:00 in the morning?
What's the matter with Helen? She's bipolar.
Yeah, well, definitely in this. Yeah. And then she's just like, oh, Shelly, we're in love. It's like, you went on one fucking date. I get that people had a shorter lifespan then, but come on, pull it together.
So Helen kills the buzz when she mentions Wes, Adele's son. It's a real problem that'll have to be addressed at some point.
Yeah, she keeps, in this moment, what's great about this part is that she keeps going back and forth. She says like really complimentary things to her. And then she like says something really shitty and cutting, and then she'll say something like she's giving a real compliment
sandwich.
But it's like a compliment club sandwich because she just keeps going,
layer after layer, and then you put a little toothpick with an olive through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sure enough, Link pays for a real theater to have the recital at. Winona performs "Animal Crackers in My Soup," one of Shirley Temple's famous numbers from the 1935 movie Curly Top.
Yeah, we didn't actually say we've implied it very heavily, but like they move out to California to start a dance school for children.
Yeah, because apparently there were a billion of these things in Hollywood.
Yeah. As soon as like Jackie Coogan and Shirley Temple made it big, everyone was like, my kids are just as cute. And I was like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. And
there were tons of this.
Yeah, this sort of subplot. This movie would, I think there was something else that we did recently, but that would also be like a really good double feature with this. Day of the Locust would pair so fucking well with this, because like Jackie Earle Haley's character is essentially
Day of the Locust is a much more serious film.
It's so dark. It's so fucking dark. But Jackie Earle Haley's character in that one is basically Winona in this one.
Yep.
Only he's so much shittier.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I think is, so the character of Star is like, he's their, elocution and acting coach or whatever. He's full of shit, but like that's essentially why they decide to hire him. He's not just lurking around their house. He does work for them.
Yeah.
I don't think we made that clear. But what's wild about this is that Link pays all this money, and the only reason he's doing it is so his daughter can have a showcase, and she fucking sucks. I hate children singing. Look, we all know I don't like children. I don't like it when they sing either. I don't think they're cute. It's not my thing. But the props and costumes, like this shit is like, he didn't just like rent a hall and put up some streamers. There's like,
oh no, this is a production capital.
This is a full, like, yeah, this is a Follies kind of thing. And like, they're ridiculous. There's one girl comes flying in at the end on wires in a butterfly costume.
Yep. Next up is a number by a girl doing a big Mae West impression, which is a little off-putting.
Okay. So this scene is, I think they stuffed this little girl's bra.
Oh, they absolutely did. That's why this number is so unappealing and off-putting, is because it's like she is probably like 11 or 12, and they have really like sexed her up.
Yeah, and in case anyone doesn't know who Mae West is, Mae West was like a 20s and 30s star. Her whole thing was, it always reminds me of the Peter Griffin, come on up and have sex with me sometime. Like her whole thing was like sex appeal. She was very like aggressively sexual. She had very large chest.
She was the Hays Code worst nightmare.
Yeah, she was also a huge like gay advocate because gay men loved her.
She again camp out the ass,
very much so. And so like that, like she just sort of oozed sexuality. She was commanding and aggressively sexual. Imagine a child doing that. It's very who's that little girl that got murdered?
John Benet Ramsey.
Yeah, it's that, but like times 20 in a way that's even more uncomfortable. And this girl didn't get murdered. Right. I mean, maybe she did. I don't know. And see what happened off screen. But it's really fucking creepy. And the choreography for all of this is so sloppy. It's like, spice it up, ladies. It looks like I did this.
Yep. Helen watches from the wings, becoming hypnotized by the fan next to her. Reminded for a second of her husband's death, being dragged over under the blades of the plow.
Yeah, her husband's hilarious death.
She reaches out and touches the blade of the fan, cutting herself in the process. Finally, Adele leads the entire review in a tap number dedicated to FDR.
And what I love about this moment is these girls are so obviously not the same girls from the dance class.
Yeah.
They're like a good 5 years older than the other girls. It's like, are we supposed to think they're the same children?
Yeah.
But they're not.
No.
And meanwhile, Shelly's coming unglued out back.
She becomes confused when the cover of a prop lying on the floor appears to her like her son's murder victim. And then Star appears from the wings in shadow, and
once again, he's just like, blah!
He's at first is terrified at his approach, and he produces a knife when one of the dancers is trapped in a harness.
Yeah, it's the girl with the butterfly wings. She can't get out of them.
Yep.
And Debbie's just like, she turns around and like gives Helen like a what the fuck look.
Yeah. The show must go on.
Well,
yeah. Talent stops for no one. So yeah, he produces the knife and it sends Helen just over the edge. She hallucinates the corpse again, and then she sees Star holding a much larger knife in a threatening way and freaks the fuck out.
And she just starts shrieking, and because Adele is just like, no, the show must go on. But like everyone, they can all hear her screaming out back, and like they're trying to get a hold of yourself. She just keeps screaming louder and louder, and the look on everyone's face is hilarious because they just keep dancing. But it's very obvious there's a woman off stage screaming.
Yep. When Link brings her home, he insists that nobody knew what was going on and it was fine. But Adele is convinced that Helen's freak out ruined everything. And she says, there I was, all bitched up.
Nice.
Fucking what a line. They kiss in the car. The camera once again pans up to Helen watching them. But then she sees a man standing in shadow across the street.
What's cool about the man standing across the street is that his face is blurred out.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, obviously they're pulling focus to something other than the guy, but like, it's a kind of a cool effect.
Yeah. Whether he's really there is anyone's guess. Adele heads in for the night once again and leaves the front door just wide open.
Again, bitch, close the fucking door. You don't have to lock it. Not locking it's one thing, but at least close it. She keeps leaving it open.
Like, what are you doing?
And because she keeps leaving it open, for some reason, people just keep wandering into their house.
Yeah. Helen, looking super distressed, comes out of her room to find the door open. She closes it, is about to head back up when the phone rings. And she grabs the phone and stops Adele from answering it. Then they argue about her condition, and she tells Adele that she saw the guy outside.
Yeah, what I like about this, so this is, again, like Curtis Harrington, I don't think he rarely got to sort of do what he wanted and kind of flex his chops, so to speak. But he does do some interesting things, and he makes some interesting choices here. And one of the choices that I really like is that Helen is sort of like, it is very obvious that she is decompensating as the movie goes along. And the way that he visually cues us into that is that she keeps getting like messier and sloppier.
Yeah.
And just looking generally worse and older. And Adele keeps getting prettier. And she kind of like, she starts out as this kind of like, a very kind of dour, sort of flappery look, but by this point, she's like spangles, sparkles. Her fucking hair is like peroxided platinum.
Yeah, wavy.
So she keeps looking better and better, and Helen just keeps getting shittier.
The phone rings again, but this time Adele answers it, and it's just some heavy breathing. In the morning, Helen frets over her rabbits while cleaning up the hutch. Then she goes to the cellar to get another pan for water and is terrified to find a cardboard standee in the likeness of Adele in her FDR tap costume, just cut up and stabbed through the neck.
It's great.
Yep.
So it's some like really elaborate vandalization.
Later on, Link takes Adele to the mansion he's renting.
And that's also when she's like, she comes down because Helen starts screaming again.
Yep.
Helen will spend the rest of the movie pretty much just shrieking and being weird. But she comes down and she's like, I think I need a drink. And she's like, Helen's like, oh, I won't have a drink. She's like, well, one gin Ricky coming up, razzmatazz.
Yep. It's a palatial estate. He shows her something that was mailed to him and he thought it might have been from her. It's a news clipping of her and Helen on the courthouse steps at their son's sentencing hearings.
Yeah, this is when he's just like, she's like, expects that he will reject her or, whatever.
He's totally cool about it.
And he's just like, kids, what can you do?
Yeah, it's like, no, I get it. I get why you'd, maybe want to not tell me about this up front.
Yeah. Which, like, again, that is if a straight man made this movie, I do not think that would have been the case.
Oh, no, he would have turned around and it would have been dramatic and but nope. He just, as a matter of fact, he's like, you know what? I'm going to pay for your son's appeal.
Mm-hmm. He's like, get me Clarence Darrow.
Clarence Darrow.
Now look, Clarence Darrow, he was an okay dude. Real smart, had a lot of good things to say about justice. I don't know that constantly defending murderers was a good idea.
Yeah. Back at home, Helen listens to Sister Alma again. The mail arrives with a letter addressed to Helen's real name, but she doesn't want to open it. Not wanting it, she chases the mailman out and hands the letter back to him. Adele is,
but like, she's not just like, oh no, this is information. She's like, no, take it away. She doesn't live here.
No, Adele is beginning to think that Helen may have been the one who sent the letter to Link, and that she might also be the one who wrecked the cutout in the basement. She muses that the letter might have been her attempt to throw her off the scent.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the point where it's like, oh, Helen's actually doing all this.
Yeah.
Like, it's so clear.
And it's at this point, we're like halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, well, I see where this is going. Mystery solved.
Yeah. Helen counters and shows her the photo of the victim, who she insists looks like them. Her sons hated them so much that they killed a woman who was like them. Then Adele becomes angry when Helen suggests that she's trying to charm Link and work her way up the social ladder.
So there you go. That's the only person who really throws it back in her face is Helen.
Yeah.
Because she sucks.
Yeah. She's like, get the fuck out. So Helen
she does, and she throws her out. And then, but then she's just like, Adele, I forgive you. It's like, forgive for what? For you being crazy?
Right. Helen packs up her stuff while listening to the radio. There's an ad for a free mug from Ovaltine by way of Little Orphan Annie, which reminded me of the Christmas Story bit.
It also feels a little like, hey, everybody, remember the 30s? Like, oh, God, yes.
Oh, man. Yeah, this movie is nostalgia for the greatest generation.
Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, while she's like, she goes into Adele's room or something, or because Adele's like, I'm going to take a shower or whatever. And she's like, well, then I'll be gone when you get out. So while Adele's in the shower, she's like in her bedroom, like smelling her clothes or something.
Yeah. She picks up that like, it's some sort of an undergarment, like a slip kind of. And she like rubs it on her face and like smells it. And then, yeah.
I guess the more that I think about it, the more the lesbian thing just doesn't, like, I can see why the studio was like, would you fucking knock it off? Like, it just, it doesn't really, it's not that it doesn't make sense. It's like, it's not necessary.
Yeah, if you can't be explicit about it.
Right. If you're not working it, like, this is that thing of like Arkov being like, she's always trying to rewrite the story. It's like, you can't just add a new big important dimension to your character, especially one that doesn't really fit into the plot and that you can't actually explicitly explore.
Right. Because it's very clearly the point, or what they really wanted to do with it originally, but because of the, just the way the MPAA was, and they couldn't. And so
even in 1971, you weren't getting away with a gay person who's not a villain.
Right. And so without the ability to just be clear on that point,
it just comes across as fucking weird every single time. It's like, why are you trying to force this into the movie?
Because it would have been perfectly adequate to just be like, she has an unhealthy fixation, like a single white female kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
Like, cause like if you, in the absence of doing like a real like lesbian story, like you could have just easily have pivoted to like just a sort of like obsessed other lady kind of story. Right?
And because they can't even like, because they keep trying to because she's being explicit, like they keep cutting it out. It just comes across as confusing.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like, why are you smelling her clothes?
Because
and then why do people keep letting themselves into your house?
Because fucking Adele keeps leaving the door open.
That's true.
Like, I mean, whom amongst us hasn't just wandered into somebody's home?
Whomst amongst us has not just walked into someone's home?
What was that guy's name? Richard Trenton Chase.
Okay.
If the door was unlocked, hey, they wanted me to come in.
Yep. That's like my other favorite, the Gary Heidnik story when the police showed up and he was like, hey, look, there's about 9 to 10 dead ladies in the basement. They were here when I moved in. Surprisingly, that didn't work as a defense.
Okay, so she's feeling up on Adele's clothing when she hears the front door open. When she goes to see who it is, she finds a man there who addresses her by her real name and asks if she got his letter.
Yeah, this is going to get confusing later.
Right. And then she shoves him down the steps and he hits his head at the bottom where he dies in a pool of blood.
And my note says, knock first and this wouldn't have happened.
People be like dying falling down the steps all the time in movies.
But imagine, look, I think that it is, I think it's probably more realistic that you would die falling down the stairs. Like, look, we are fragile. You can't just be slamming your neck around in all these different directions.
I don't know. Everybody's like falling down the steps. Aunt Bunny's always falling down the steps.
Think about like how many people die in the shower just by slipping?
What?
Yeah.
Shit.
People die in the shower all the time because they slip, like, or in the bathroom because they slip on the floor.
Man, all right.
Not,
Jesus Christ.
Well, like your bathroom's made of like fucking tile and marble.
Oh, maybe yours is, Mr. Fancy Boston person.
Wow. Must be nice. We do have a nice bathroom.
Yeah.
I have to. But then, can you imagine you're Helen or you're Adele? You hop in the shower, you get out. Surprise, Helen's still at your house and she killed a guy.
Right. Yep. Helen hallucinates the body again of her husband and then she fucking snaps. So now Adele arrives home to find Helen in the dark with a dead man still at the bottom of the steps. They check his body and they find a letter on him identifying him as someone who seeks out heirs because one of Helen's more distant relatives died recently and left her some money.
Great. Now you've killed somebody and you're not getting the money.
Just keeps getting fucking worse. And she opened the letter and returned. She would have known that. Adele is understandably pissed.
I mean, you come home, you hope your crazy roommate's going to be gone, but no. And also,
she's there and she's just made things worse. So fearing that they'll have to leave town again and start over, Adele shuts down Helen's insistence that they have to tell someone what she did. Definitely not the cops. They'll tell Link because he's important and rich and people will listen to him. But Adele doesn't want him anywhere near this, so she conspires that they take care of the body themselves and act like nothing happened.
I mean, this is the good old days when you could still fake an accidental death to cover up a murder and no one would be the wiser.
The way that this shakes out, I was like, really? It's just that easy?
Look, I write a lot about murder. These crimes get solved almost purely by luck.
By night, they drag his body out in the rain and throw him in a hole dug in the road. And then they burn the letter he came in with. And then Helen happily declares that it's all going to be okay. And they're going to be friends like they used to be.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yep. So the next day, Helen watches the cops pull the body out of the hole. Adele checks in with her and she runs her through some Bible verses about repentance and assures her that she's fine.
Yeah, of course she is. She's not crazy.
No.
You're crazy. She's not crazy.
Definitely nothing the matter with Helen. Nothing. Nope. She's fine. It's all good. Get over it. Stop asking.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes people fall in holes and die. It's a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So later on, Adele wakes up to a loud broadcast of Sister Alma preaching about confession. She also can't find Helen and just assumes the worst. Turns out her assumptions were right because she heads down to Sister Alma's church where she arrives in time for the offerings and sees Helen rise to receive anointing from Sister Alma.
And Agnes Moorehead is fucking glorious in this movie. She's not in it very long, but...
No, you just hear her voice through most of it. But like in this, she's like underneath like a glowing cross and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Helen approaches Sister Alma, gives her wedding ring as an offering, and then begs her for God's forgiveness. And Sister Alma's like... Okay, sure. Yeah,
don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And like she's like, no. You don't understand. You don't understand. And finally, Sister Alma goes, God forgives you. Take my word for it.
just move on. There's people behind you. She's like, no, listen to me. She's just not feeling
starts causing a scene. And Adele runs up and she's like trying to pull Helen away. And she's, Helen's still freaking out. And then she slaps her in the face. And Sister Alma goes, you only did what had to be done. God has forgiven you.
See? It's just that easy, Helen.
That is why Agnes Moorehead is in this movie, to deliver those lines.
Yeah. So later on as classes are going on at the school, Adele addresses Star, who is positively losing it. and Star is throwing shade about her condition.
Yeah, he is. This is where he gets real, like, bitchy.
Yeah. He's also looking shady as hell as Adele ushers Helen back to bed. Adele tries to get her to take a sedative and chill out, but she can't sleep. Helen thinks that she's gaslighting her to keep her away from the public, where she might confess to killing that dude. And you know what? She's not wrong.
Nope. And the worse Helen looks, this is where we really start to notice that Debbie Reynolds is looking a lot better, because the way that he shoots Debbie Reynolds in this movie, especially in these close-up moments,
it's that sort of like Vaseline on the lens thing that like Star Trek was always doing.
It's old Hollywood glamour. Like, she looks like Gloria Swanson or Rita Hayworth. Like, she is framed dead center in the shot. The focus is fully on her, so everything behind her looks a little blurry and fuzzy, and she just looks stunningly gorgeous.
Yeah, all of the even right down to like all of the materials that she's wearing are like very sort of shiny. Her jewelry is very glittery.
And this is a movie that is otherwise very, very dull looking. It's a lot of browns and tans and ugly, ugly colors like yellow. All just a very kind of sallow color palette.
Yeah, even the street outside is very dirty.
Yeah, except for her and the little girl.
Yeah. So Helen sneaks out the backyard while Adele gets ready for a date with Link. She talks to her rabbits. Then Star sneaks up on her again, offering her a white rose.
Look, he needs to stop sneaking up on people.
He's
just
gotta
in
cut
general.
that shit out.
Because she's crazy as hell, but he is being a total weirdo in this entire movie. He says he stopped on his way home to pick a flower, and then he decided he wanted to bring it to her. Now, okay, we get that Star is kind of a con artist. Not really, but he lies about everything.
He's the bullshit artist.
And like, but even that feels really over the top, because it's like, he's obviously a homosexual. That is telegraphed in this film. So the idea that he's like, I brought this rose to you, like, is he supposed to be a love interest? Like, what is this scene doing?
That's the thing. I think that's why I'm most frustrated with this, because this is the last time we're going to see him. His character has been nothing but sort of like
he's a red herring. That's all he is throughout the whole movie. But he's a shitty red herring because he's such an obvious gay that you're like, all right, well, he's not like a kind of like a honeymoon killer type of guy. And he's clearly not the killer, because we know that Helen is insane. She's going to be the one who goes off the deep end. So, like, what is he doing?
I know. But the thing is he is such an entertaining presence.
Yes.
That is the part that I find most frustrating, is he's just
That's probably what he's doing here.
Yeah. Anyway, she pricks her finger on the thorn, and he pulls out his knife to trim the thorns away, and then he brings her back inside. So now Adele and Link play a little mini golf, where he kind of proposes marriage to her, and that they get married that very night.
Yeah, it's a real like, oh, you probably you're trying to rope me into marriage. You're just like all the other women. But
listen,
what
babe,
if I wanted to marry you?
I'm crazy about you, babe.
You know, like all women hope for one day. Over mini golf, someone says, yeah, fuck it, let's get married.
Yep. He brings Helen home to get whatever it is she needs. She brings Adele home, and then she checks on Helen. She finds Helen room's is tossed, though. There was an obvious struggle there.
Yeah, she's out having she comes home, she's having a great night, gonna get married, and old crazy pants Helen had to have an episode and ruin the whole thing.
Yeah, what the fuck is the matter with Helen?
Well, a lot right now.
Right, yeah.
I feel like, though, like she goes into the kitchen. Is this when she goes into the kitchen?
Yeah, she goes to the kitchen. The kitchen's covered in blood, too.
I feel like if I walked into a room covered in blood, I'd probably leave and call the police.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go investigate on my own.
No, you are not Debbie. You are not Debbie Reynolds, though.
I am definitely not Debbie Reynolds. That's for damn sure.
Down in the backyard, the rabbit hutch is also covered up, and she sneaks up on it, uncovering it to discover that all the rabbits are dead.
Yep. Lenny finally delivered on that promise.
Yep. She backs up in horror.
Except in real life, people do that to their children and not their rabbits.
Oh. Backs up in horror and bumps into Helen, who also has blood all over her. She confesses to killing the rabbits and then tells a story that revises the death of her husband so that it was no accident.
I couldn't stand him to touch me, which is weird phrasing that I like.
Yeah, it's cool. It's old-timey. Helen, frightened, talks her down, tells her that she's going to call Sister Alma, and Helen can confess to her. When she goes to the phone, Adele tells Helen that she's marrying Link and is suddenly bum rushed by Helen with a knife, who stabs her several times to death.
I will say, though, up to the point where Helen stabs her, Adele she's good in a hostage situation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's keeping it cool.
She pivots. She knows, like, I would be like, I got to go. You need to do something about these rabbits, okay? Everything needs to be gone when I get back, including you.
So a detective rings the doorbell as Helen is cleaning up, and then he comes in, calling Helen by her real name. And he presents a photo of the guy she pushed down the stairs and tells her that he was in love with Ellie Banner, who is the woman that the two ladies' sons murdered. It explains that the guy was in town with revenge on his mind. But hey, it's all good now because he's dead.
Yeah, it's like, what
this is the thing is this is what this movie's ending just blows it. Like all the build up, all the setup kind of just goes nowhere.
Yeah. It's like they get to the end and they're like, wait, how does the movie end? He's like, the guy from before was the one making the call?
Yeah.
And they were like, okay.
Yeah, he shows the picture. He's like, you ever see this guy before? And she's like, no. And he's like, really? Because they pulled his fucking body out of the pit right in front of your place here. You sure you never seen him? And she's like, no. And he's like,
good enough for me.
Cool. See ya.
And the guy playing the cop is Anne Ramsey's husband.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Anne Ramsey, who played Mama Fratelli, among other
That's
characters.
Awesome. Yeah. That was it. And then when he leaves, Helen runs upstairs excitedly to tell Adele, who could have sworn was just stabbed. Yep. She's probably not doing so well, though. Meanwhile, Link arrives to the sound of Helen playing piano. From the Big Tap review. It's that song Goody Goody.
And she's got this fucking cheesy grin on her face.
So happy.
She's very happy.
So happy. He busts in to find the place dark, but decorated as Helen intended for the original recital. As she busts his chops for interrupting the recital, but he's too shocked to care because Adele's body is dressed in the costume from the review and arranged on the stage, tied to a ladder, all busted up and dead as Helen happily plays the song.
I guess the takeaway is you probably should have just had the recital at that time. I guess.
Yeah. But I do love that as she's like looking crazier and crazier as she plays, like the music is like warping and
the music warps
shit.
and it keeps looping towards the end and it gets really intense. And because Debbie Reynolds, she does look really kind of creepy, all made up in this weird.
She looks like a George Romero zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roll credits, baby.
Whew. What a bonkers time. I love this era when you could just make weird fucking movies and they'd be like, well, you know what? If they don't do well in theaters, we'll send them to the drive-in. If they don't do well at the drive-in, we'll send them to the revival house.
Yeah, or we'll just put it on TV.
Yeah, well, we'll get our money one way or another. Make whatever the fuck you want.
A budget like this, too, like $1.5 million.
Yeah.
They must have made their money back.
It got so many weird movies. It's not like now where it's so easy to make a movie that it's the market is oversaturated.
Yeah. The thing is back then, there were like if you just go back and look at films of the 1970s, there are way more movies made by the major studios that had major theatrical releases that you've never even heard of.
Yeah, because they were all trying to capture the audience that loved 5 Easy Pieces or The Graduate. They knew there was a new film movement and there was a new audience. They just didn't quite understand who that audience was. They were like, I don't know, throw it all at the wall. Let's see what we get.
Yeah.
And you had people like Corman who were just like, I can make a movie for $7.
Yeah.
And it was just a weird, you end up with all this weird shit that everybody's forgotten about, which is why I think it's a little weird sometimes when there's, all these boutique Blu-ray companies out there that are clamoring to find everything. And it's there's tons of shit out there. You just got to figure it out and find it instead of putting out I don't know, shit nobody needs to see. Because that leads to the question of does this movie really hold up? And in a weird way, it does. It just, I'm not sure who it's for.
That's the thing. I think that there is an audience for this. It is quirky. It is very strange. It's just that it has really great performances. It's like we did, right up top, it's campy as hell in a way that is genuinely campy.
Yeah, this would make a great, that cinematograph, that new line from Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah.
This would make a great release for them.
It absolutely
that is exactly what this is.
But yeah, but like again, like, but it just sort of comes apart in the end. It definitely doesn't stick the landing, but it's well worth watching. I mean, like you can get it. It's out on Scream Factory.
I mean, you can find it on YouTube or some shit too.
Yeah, I had to watch it on YouTube because it's not streaming anymore. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's dated. It suffers from some pretty obvious like interference from Shelley Winters and probably the studio as well. The writing's shoddy in a little, here and there, but it's a fun movie.
I love that Harrington was one of those guys who just wanted you to know how much he loved old movies. And so he was constantly like referencing them and like really doing his best to sort of put you in the period.
Yeah. And I mean, he was never really able to execute. I think this is probably as close as he's ever going to get. These two movies that he makes with Shelley Winters, like these are his big swing in Hollywood, and it doesn't go very well. And that's why he makes TV movies. Those movies are great too. Yeah.
That's where he's ostensibly, that's where he's most successful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, he managed to make a decent living, and he did a lot of cool shit on the side. And
he made sure that we saw The Old Dark House.
Yeah. Thank God.
Fucking A.
So this is, watch this movie. It's a way to celebrate one of Hollywood's unsung heroes.
Yep. A great way to close out our Pride series.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. So that said, where are we off to next?
Well, as you said, next week, 99-cent rental. We are going to be checking out a movie that I have only recently discovered, thanks to a new release from Cauldron.
Cauldron's such a weird label.
It is, and I felt I was so...
You were so taken with it that you were like, fuck it, this is going right on the schedule.
What
did you boot for to put that on there?
Now I can't remember. It was one of mine, but I can't remember what it was.
All right.
But I felt obligated to fit it into the schedule. It is the absolutely bonkers Spanish revenge thriller, I guess, Mad Foxes. I cannot wait till you see it. It is absolutely insane.
Never seen it.
It is so weird.
Yep.
And then in 2 weeks, Bring Me the Axe will return with a very exciting guest who we will be subjecting to one of my favorite Cronenberg movies, Rabid.
Oh, good. That'll be a fun one.
Yep.
All right. So be back here in a week for all the weird penises of
seriously
Mad Foxes. And then in 2, we'll be back with Rabid.
Mm-hmm.